Hi everyone, welcome to the Mathemagic Channel. Today we're covering an IGCSE Edexcel past paper from June 2022. The paper is in the description, so make sure that you download the paper as a PDF, try the paper yourself, and then go through any questions that you couldn't do. The exams are coming soon, so good luck. So we'll aim to break this paper down into two parts, starting with part 1, which will be questions 1 through 12. Here's question 1. So here's some integers, and you know that A is smaller than B, smaller than C, smaller than D. Starting with our numbers here, the mode is 9, the median is 8, the range is 4. So we know that the mode is the number that is repeated the most. So we can say that D here is going to be equal to 9 because we see that we have 3 Ds. And so your data set looks a lot like ABC 999. Now the median is the number in the middle. And so if you know that you have A, B, C followed by 9, 9, 9, 9, the number in the middle being 8 is actually the average of C and 9. And so if the average of C and 9, if C plus 9 divided by 2 is equal to 8, this will imply that C is actually equal to 7 here. So you can move the 2 to the other side, 16, and then 16 minus 9. C is 7. Because 7 plus 9 divided by 2, remember the median is the average of the middle two numbers, which means that you need to add these two numbers together and divide by 2. So naturally speaking here, C is going to be 7. And for the A value being 4, that's the range. So the range means lowest to highest. So if the highest point is 9, the lowest point must be 5 because 5 plus the range, so 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. Therefore A is equal to 5. So we have our values here. This is a nice question to get started. A, B, C, and D, so 5. And the B value, we don't know what the B value is. The value of B, the value of C. Well, let's just see what we have here. So the C value is 7, and then the D value is 9. Okay, what about the B value? So the range, the median is 8. Oh, we know that B is just between A and C. So if A is 5 and C is 7, B has to be 6. So just based on the fact that it's sandwiched between 5 and 7, B should be 6. So a little bit tricky finish there. Okay, moving on to question 2. Draw and label with its equation the straight line with equation y equals 1. So grabbing your ruler here, the line with no gradient, which is called y equals 1, is a horizontal line. And we can draw it horizontally like this. This is the line y equals 1, so we can label it y is equal to 1. Okay, so for the line x equal 2, we will need to draw a vertical line, which we can draw here. That needs to go through the value 2, so let me just scoot it a little bit to the side. This seems pretty good. So this is the vertical line x equal 2. And for the last line, x plus y equals 7, notice that this is not written in the form y equals for you, so this should be written as y equals negative x plus 7. And if you write it that way, you'll notice that this is a line with a gradient of negative 1, because the number in front of x is negative 1, and a y-intercept of positive 7. So let's go ahead and draw that line. So this line should look a little bit like this. Actually, this is really good. And we can label that as well. This is negative x plus 7. So now we've drawn our 3 lines. I'm assuming there's going to be a region type of question. Show by shading on the grid the region that satisfies all 3 of the inequalities. That's most likely the region in between all 3, which is this yellow area here. Now notice that just for you to be aware of how inequalities work, it's the region where it's greater than 1, so it needs to be above the line y equals 1. If it said y smaller than equal to 1, it would be below the line y equals 1. And it says x greater than equal to 2, so it needs to be to the right of the line x equal 2. And finally, for the last point, it says x plus y smaller than equal to 7, which means that y is smaller than equal to negative x plus 7, which means it's under the line, the linear equation, it should be under that linear equation. So just be aware of that. And then following the prompt from the question, it says label the region R. So I would encourage you to grab a pen and label the region R to make sure that you get the marks. And that should be good for this question. Moving on to question 3 here, an airplane traveled from New York City to Los Angeles. The airplane traveled a distance of 3,980 kilometers in 5 hours and 24 minutes. Work out the speed. So remember that if you want the speed in kilometers per hour, you need to do kilometers divided by hours. Now, kilometers we have here as 3,980, and then for hours, 5 hours and 24 minutes. Well, I guess we can use a little trick here and change this into an improper fraction. 24 out of 60 minutes, if you were to change that into hours, divide the top and bottom by 12, I guess, you'll get 2/5. So this is actually either 2/5 of an hour, or you can say 0.4 as a decimal, so it's up to you. I would probably use 2/5 and say that I'm doing this divided by 5 2/5. And so just to finish on that point, 5 2/5, if I was to change that into a decimal, I could say it's 5.4. That's probably going to be the easiest way to do this. Just divide by 5.4 and use your calculator. So it looks like 3,980 divided by 5.4 is 737 kilometers per hour. And when you think about planes tend to travel at those speeds, above 700 kilometers per hour. So this seems reasonable. And it says to the nearest whole number. Now this is closest to 737, so we can just write that down. And we'll be happy with that question for 3 marks. For the next question, show that this is true. It seems like everybody's over 21, so that's what we're going to do. So 5 1/3, let's change that. Let's first change that into fractions. So 5 1/3 is going to be 15/3 plus 1/3, so 16/3. So if you wanted to change 5 plus 1/3 into thirds, you could say that that's 15/3 plus 1/3, which is 16/3. Okay, so that's 16/3, and then for the next mixed number, using a similar strategy, you can say it's 14/7 plus 6/7, which will give you 20/7. Now, here you have 2 fractions with different denominators, so everybody can go over 21. And so we'll need to do 7 times 16 here, which if you want to use a calculator, go ahead. So 112, just to be sure, because you're in an exam, minus 3 times 20, which you don't need a calculator for, that's just 60. So 112 minus 60, that's going to be equal to 52/21. And here you can use mixed numbers again. You can realize that that's 42/21 plus 10/21. And 42/21 is going to simplify quite nicely as 2, because 42 divided by 21 is 2. And we're left with 10/21, which is what we wanted. So super, we're happy with this question. This is good for 3 marks. Okay, presented with a shape that's a little bit weird here. It looks like we have a rectangle and a trapezium at the top. So most likely this is going to be the easiest way to separate this shape. Now I would encourage you to label everything that you need here. You'll probably need the length CD. Oh, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the length CD. So knowing that the area of the whole shape is 434, interesting. Perhaps what we can do here is just focus on the remaining area for the trapezium. So the area of area of AFGH, the area of that rectangle is going to be 12 times 28, and 12 times 28, what is 12 times 28? So 336. And we can take away 336 from 434 to be left with the area of the trapezium. So that the area of the trapezium is 98. So area of the trapezium is equal to 98. So therefore the area of the trapezium is 98. And so this question really becomes a question based on how, if you know that this height here is 20 minus 12, so this height is 8. So knowing the height of the trapezium and knowing that the big base is 20, how would you find the small base? So for a trapezium, we need to find the average of the big base and the small base. So we're going to do that. We're going to say 20, which is the big base, plus the base that we don't know, which is CD, divided by 2, multiplied by the height, which is, I believe, 8. Okay, so that's good. This area should be equal to 98. Okay, so the easiest thing to do here is going to be to do 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So 20 plus CD times 4 is equal to 98. I'm going to go ahead and move the 4 to the other side, and 98 divided by 4. Well, you can think that 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 98 divided by 4, that's going to be a little bit less than that. We could actually say 20 plus CD. 96 divided by 4 is 24. So this is going to be 24.5, and CD looks like it's 4.5. So this looks like 4.5, and you could always double check by finding the area of your trapezium again and checking that it's 98. If you end the test, I would encourage you to do that. Anytime you have a chance to get marks in the early section of the paper, which is right now, those marks, these 4 marks, are way easier to get than the marks at the end of the paper. So make sure that you get these 4 marks and that your answers are correct. So please double check your work if you can. Okay, good. Moving on. Okay, so this looks like a trigonometry question where we're given an angle, we're given the hypotenuse and the adjacent side. So this looks like a cosine question because the cosine ratio, so cosine of 42, always cosine of an angle, is the adjacent side, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 9.5. Moving the hypotenuse to the other side, 9.5 cosine 42 is equal to x, and we can use our calculator here and find the value of this length. Plugging this into our calculator, it looks like it's 7.0598. The question says 1 decimal place, so probably 7.1 is a very good place to go. And if we write 7.1, that's good for 3 marks. Amazing, you guys. We're on to question 7. Change a speed of 81 kilometers per hour to a speed in meters per second. So 81 kilometers per hour. Okay, so there's a few things we can do here. Well, 81 kilometers, if we wanted to change that into meters, is 81,000, and that'll be in meters per hour. And now perhaps you want to change your hours into minutes. So you could do 81,000 divided by 60, and then you could divide again by 60 to change that into seconds. But what you could do really is to just do 81,000 divided by 60 times 60, which is 3,600. And using our calculator, dividing by 60 twice or dividing by 3,600, we get 22.5 meters per second. And this seems really good for 3 marks. Okay, so we have a question here, question 8, which has to do with ratios. Now, note that the ratios are 7 to 5 to 3. I would always encourage you to add ratios. So 7 plus 5 plus 3. 7 plus 5 is 12. This means we have 15 parts. And if we have 15 parts, out of which we have 7 out of 15, to a ratio of 5 out of 15, and to a ratio of 3 out of 15, the whole question is going to become a little bit easier to understand. Okay, so the question's asking what fraction of the 300 cards have numbers on them? So 2/5 of the birthday cards have numbers on them. Now perhaps we need to figure out how many of each cards we have. So let's figure that out. So the number of birthday cards, 300 divided by 15. So 300 over 15 is 1 part. So 300 out of 15, 300 over 15 is 1 part, and 1 part is 20. So it's quite easy here using 20 as a single part. This is going to be your lead for this question. Using 20 as a single part, the number of cards are actually separated in the following way. So 7 parts birthday cards, 7 times 20 is 140. Anniversary cards, 5 times 20 is 100. And then 3 parts for the congratulation cards is going to be 60. And you can see here that 140 and 160, these all add up to 300. So we've separated this into birthday cards, anniversary cards, and congratulations. So birthday cards, anniversary cards, and congratulation cards. Okay, so now we can answer the question. 2/5 of the birthday cards have numbers on them, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for how many cards have numbers on them. So 2/5 of the birthday cards, that's equal to 2/5 times 140. And 2/5 times 140, well, 140 divided by 5, that's quite a nice operation. That's 28. And 28 times 2 is 56. If you don't know how to divide a number by 5, I would encourage you to check out the video that we put out about dividing numbers by 5. What we do is we double them. So when you want to do 140 divided by 5, just do 14 times 2, which is 28. And then we're multiplying that by 2 again here, so we get 56. So 56 of the birthday cards have numbers on them. 36% of the anniversary cards have numbers on them. Well, that's really nice because 0.36 times 100 is actually exactly 36 cards. So 36 cards here, that's going to be a really good number for us. So we've got 56 cards here, 36 cards here, and then none of the congratulation cards have numbers on them. Okay, so we don't need to consider those. So work out what fraction of the 300 cards have numbers on them. Oh, okay, so we need to figure out fraction here. So 56 plus 36, so 56 plus 36, all out of 300, and probably we're going to need to simplify that fraction. 56 plus 6 is 62, so this is going to be 92 out of 100, or out of 300 rather. 92 is not a multiple of 3, so we won't be able to divide that by 3. However, 92 is divisible by 4, and probably not by 8, so let's go ahead and divide this by 4. So we know that 300 divided by 4 is going to be 75, and 92 divided by 4 is going to be 23. So this is 23 out of 75. 23 is a prime number, so this looks pretty good in terms of simplest form, and that's worth 5 marks here. Pasha invests $50,000 in a savings account for 4 years. He gets 1.3% per year compound interest. How much money will Pasha have in his savings account at the end of the 4 years? So he's gaining money, and each year he's gaining 1.3%. So this is a pretty nice question. To increase a number by 1.3%, you need to multiply it by 1.013. Remember that 100% is 1, 1.3% is going to be 0.013. So when you add 0.013 to 1, you get 1.013. So this is the multiplier that you need here. And using this multiplier, you need to apply this 4 times. So you're going to do times 1.013 times 1.013 times 1.013 times 1.013. So really what you're doing is you're doing this to the power 4. And that operation should give you the answer. And it looks like multiplying this by 1.013 to the power 4, the 50,000 becomes 52,651, 52,651. And that to the nearest dollar is going to be good, and we can move on to the next question. So 52,651. Very good. Well done. Moving on to simultaneous equations. Now, if you've been preparing for your IGCSEs, you've probably done quite a few of these. The second line suggests that a substitution might be good. You could also do an elimination. If you wanted to do elimination, you could multiply the first line by 3 perhaps, and multiply the second line by 7 to eliminate the x's. You could also try and eliminate the y's, and if you wanted to eliminate the y's, you could just multiply the second line by 3. Actually, I think this might be the easiest way to do this, so let's always look for a nice and easy solve. So 7x plus 3y is equal to 3, that's the first line again. And multiplying the second line by 3, we'll get 9x's minus 3y is equal to 21. So this is the first line, and this is line 2 times 3. So it seems like adding the two lines is probably going to yield the best result. So we can go ahead and say that. We can say that we're doing line 1 plus line 2 times 3. And so we'll have 7 plus 9x's, which is going to give you 16x's here, and the y's are going to go away, they're eliminated, and 3 plus 21 is going to give you 24, which is nice. So x is going to be equal to 24 over 16, and 24 over 16 dividing the top and the bottom by 4 is going to be equal to 6 over 4. Actually, we could divide this by 8, so we could say this is 3 over 2, which is 1.5. Plugging this in equation 2, in the original equation 2, I think 1.5 works quite well for the x value. Let's check here. So 3 times 3 over 2 minus y is equal to 7. So a little bit to do with fractions here. So 9 over 2 minus 7 is equal to y. And I could change that and say 7 is 14 over 2. So 9 over 2 minus 14 over 2 is going to be negative 5 over 2. So negative 5 over 2 here, and 3 over 2 for the x value. So I would encourage you to plug these into the first equation to double check, and sure enough, if you do it with your calculator, 7 times 1.5 is going to give you 10.5. And then 3y's, so 3 times negative 2.5 is going to give you negative 7.5, and 10.5 minus 7.5 is 3. So we know that our result, even though it's fractions or decimals, is correct, and that's what's important. So even though it doesn't look super friendly, it's totally fine. And you should be comfortable with fractions for your IGCSE exam, so this is important. If you're not comfortable with fractions, I recommend you use decimals for those types of questions and use your calculator. So for question 11, factorizing this, that's a quadratic. We're looking for a product of negative 24. Now, negative 24, that adds up to 5. You have options here, so negative 8 and positive 3, or probably positive 8 and negative 3. And it seems like this is going to be very good here, so we're going to use that. So we could say that this is x plus 8 factor of x minus 3. Factorizing quadratics. So if you're not too sure how to do that, make sure you watch our video, which will help you with how we factorize quadratics. So we're looking for a product of negative 24 that adds up to positive 5, and that's what we found. We found a pair of numbers, 8 and negative 3, those multiply to negative 24, and then 8 plus negative 3 add up to positive 5. And it says hence solve. Now, since you've already got the factorized version, you're looking for x plus 8 being equal to 0, or x minus 3 being equal to 0, which would suggest two solutions. The first solution is x1 equal negative 8, and the second solution is x2 equals positive 3. Okay, this is really good. So far, so good for all of these marks. Okay, Larry is a delivery man. He has 7 parcels to deliver. The mean weight of the 7 parcels is 2.7 kilos. So this is interesting here because the average weight, we can call this W with a bar on top, is 2.7 kilos. Well, what you don't know is the total weight of those parcels. And in each one of those questions, I would always encourage you to figure out what the total weight is. So we can say TW for the total weight, and that'll be 2.7 times 7. So the total weight of his parcels was actually 18.9 kilos. So he had 7 parcels, which altogether weighed 18.9 kilograms. He delivers 3 of the parcels. Each of those 3 parcels has a weight of W kilos, which we don't really know. The mean weight of the other 4 parcels is 3.3 kilos. So following the same logic, So 4 parcels, 4 times 3.3, what's that going to be equal to? So the other parcels weigh 13.2 kilos. And so we're looking for the singular weight of the 3 parcels that have been delivered. And that'll be, I guess, the remaining weight divided by 3. So we can do 18.9 minus 13.2, which is going to give us 5.7. And 5.7 kilograms divided by 3 parcels, well, 57 is 19 times 3. That's going to be 1.9 kilos for each one of the parcels that he has delivered already. So these parcels are going to be 1.9 kilos. Okay, that's fabulous. Well done. Okay, this concludes the first section for this past paper. I would recommend that you nail all the marks in this section if you can, because those marks are so valuable. It is absolutely possible to get a 6 or a 7 just by getting the first section right. And so, of course, you know, you'll have to attempt some of the harder questions. Now, I would encourage you to go ahead and try the harder questions, and we'll upload the second part of the paper relatively soon so that you're able to finish all these questions. Good luck, and good luck with your exams.